Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the New Brick Workshop. Today I'm going to show you how to make this metal storage cabinet. It doesn't open up, but I've got tubes inside which I can put all my various bits of metal. And the tube depths vary, and so I put longer pieces in one and shorter pieces in another, and so on. And I've got a little tray area here just for putting little things that I've just cut. Now, part of this was done on the CNC, and so I'm going to separate that off into a video which is about this, but CNC orientated, and the other part is about the woodwork side, and I'll show you a tiny bit of the CNC in that, but concentrate on the woodwork. Right, I'm all set up to cut out the 6 levels of my internal pieces, well, the top and then the internal ones. The very top is going to be a piece of Baltic birch. It's about 17.5 millimeters thick, nice bit of plywood. And the remaining 5 layers that go all the way down to the bottom are going to be from this piece of moisture-resistant Medite MDF, which I've actually used in an experiment before. It's got lots of 3mm holes in it, but that's of no consequence because they won't be seen when it's finished and the CNC won't know they're there. And if you look carefully at my setup, I've got my track saw held onto the Super Dogs with clips. I've got my 2 par fences, one either side of where the cut's going to be. My wood's pushed up against those par fences. I've already measured my 267 millimeters, and there's a pencil line, and I've got a stop fitted here. So I can now do multiple cuts at 267. This is the waste piece. The piece I want is under here, and I'm going to flip this round because all of my stock is 267 square. Push it up against the fence, move it along, make sure it's in place, and do another cut. That's the waste piece. The actual piece, which is spot on 267 squares here. And my track saw cutting station is beautifully accurate, and I can see no gaps there at all. Spot on. So that's the top one. I'm going to now cut the others from this piece of Medite MDF. And the more astute amongst you will notice that I've actually got 7 here. I've got my top one plus 6. I'm going to use the 6th one of the Medite as my practice go. Now I'm using the X-Carve CNC. It's made by a company called Inventables. It's available, I think, probably all over the world. I've had it for a very long time now. I've got my little laptop computer connected to it. I've set up my dust extractor, so it's going to take away the majority of the dust, and I think I can now start to do the cutting of the 2nd layer. That's the one below the top. And this is now a perfect fit. Oh, certainly, I've made it just a little bit bigger, and obviously these pipes vary in diameter very slightly, but only by a tiny bit. So no, I'm pleased with that. That's fine. And if you can see these stop ends, the idea is that this will fit over that like that, and I can then put a bit of hot melt glue around there to hold the short pieces in. Good. Now I've checked all the cut pieces for size, and everything is fine. It all fits together okay. I did a trial assembly. These are my pieces of plastic pipe which are cut to length. The lengths are 800, 600, 400 and so on. And I've got a piece of backing board here on the bench. It's cut to the same width as these pieces. and that will form the back. The side pieces will go over that to flush with the front, and the front piece will be flush with the new sides which have been created. I'm not bothering to do anything fancy at the corners. This is a workshop gadget. It's a tool. You can see how this is going to work now with the tubes going through the holes all the way through, in this one's case, to the bottom, and they'll stick out by a tiny bit at the top. Now, I'm not quite sure the best way of going about gluing this up. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use in the back some screws. The back goes on here, the front is there, because I've got my little tray, you can see it there at the front. So the back that goes on, I think I'm going to use some screws, probably one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, like that, all the way through. And the reason for choosing to use some screws really is that the weight of all this metal that's going to be in these tubes is going to be borne by these pieces. This piece will have the weight of the tube that goes from there upwards. This piece will have the weight of the tube that goes from there upwards. This piece, 2 tubes that go to here, and this piece, 2 tubes that go to there. So there's a fair bit of weight being distributed across all of this, and so I think 2 screws at each level is a good idea. And I'll do the same at the sides, but not at the front. So my strategy now is I've drilled the side pieces. It's got holes in for the screws, and this is the back. That's got the holes in for the screws. I'm going to fix this top piece and this bottom piece to that side piece with glue. I'm then going to put the back piece on here, glue there and glue there, and then I'm going to rotate it so I can then deal with these intermediate pieces. Now I have marked the square lines on here where the top of the various pieces go, and that's also on the back as well as that side. So that should give me the opportunity of getting things reasonably square with any luck. We'll see. Right, so I've put glue on that one there and it's held in with a clamp. I'm just going to put glue in on this one. You've really got to make sure you've got these round the right way. In my case, they're square, and so it's all too easy to get it wrong. And so that's there, yep. So glue goes on here. That one's going to go here. I put this clamp on. It really does pay to take one's time and get this sort of thing right, because just a small error here can be a bigger error by the time you've done all the other bits and pieces. So I'm now going to put the screws in from the other side. Now I've got this on a flat surface, and again it's important to make sure that everything is flat down there. This is the back, so if it's slightly oversized, it doesn't matter, it can be trimmed. And so here we go, pop that screw in. So I'm right-handed, so I'm sort of hiding the thing from you. That's one in. One in the bottom goes in there. Make sure that's all nice and flush, yep. All right, that's that. Okay, so I'm happy there. I go to the bottom. Now this time it's not flush because my wood is slightly on the long side. I'm just going to check, yeah, it's all lined up here. Happy with that. Let's put a second clamp on there on the safe side. That's that. Nice and tight. So I can now drill in 2 places. One there, and one there. Pop a screw in each of those. And because it's going into MDF mostly, I'm doing these by hand, so I can detect the stage when it's at its maximum grip before it strips the thread, as it were, in the MDF. Because if you use any old electric screwdriver, there's a danger that you can screw it in too much. I'm now going to rotate it so that I can do the back, which is in there. Now at this stage, I'm just going to gather those up and put them to one side. Right, so this is the back. Now it's easier to get this end one spot on because it's got to be flush along there. The bottom one, because my wood is slightly long, I'm going to have to rotate this so that I can see to get it right. But I'm going to put glue on here anyway, and on here, and making sure I know which is the top. Yeah, the top's this way. I'm going to put glue along this edge. Right, so here we go. Now I'm only putting these clamps on for the purpose of putting these screws in, fixing these bits. And the reason for that is that you might be able to see there's a dip there. And so I've got to put the other pieces in before that glue along there goes off. This is the easy one here because that's dead flush. Now if this were a piece of furniture, you wouldn't have screws showing on the outside at all. And you wouldn't have bare edges of MDF showing either. But I'm not worried about that. Right, so that's that end. I'll take that off. Now, in order to get this right, I've got to rotate it so I can see what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at my pencil line, which is here, making sure that that is spot on the pencil line. One there, and one there. Right, so far so good. But remember what I said about this joint here. I've now got to put the intermediate ones in so that we end up getting this in exactly the right position. So I've got to make sure I do these in the correct order. And that one, that one, that one, and that one, yep. So I'm just going to line them up there and do them one at a time. And I'm going to put glue on two faces now, plonk it in, and then screw up the one on the far side, and then come back and do the one on this side. Now with my pencil lines down there and along here, I can see to get this in exactly the right position. I think every woodworker should have a large clamp like this for these awkward jobs. That's that. I'll just continue along here. You can see how it's going in. I've done two, I've got two more to do, but just to show that things are progressing, there's my tube fitting through there quite nicely. I'm just putting in these bits of plastic just to make sure I haven't made a boo-boo. And I'm going to put the bottom ones in first. That's slightly easier, because they're shorter. That goes in like so. That one goes in like so. Goes in. And this last one goes in. That's it. So all of my tubes are in and they fit. And with it up this way, I think you can see just how it's working. So I've got my long one, my next shorter, and longer, shorter. So there they are, and at the top end they just stick out a tiny bit. So, and there's my little tool tray or tray for putting little bits in whilst I'm wondering what to do with them, etc. So I'm quite pleased with that. All I've got to do now is put the other side on here and on here. Now, I originally thought that I would use some hot melt glue around here, and so on to keep these in place. But I don't think I will, because just supposing in one of these I dropped something which is too short to be got at, and I wanted to take one individual one out, I think I could probably do it by pulling upwards from the top. And this front panel is removable. I've only put 6 screws in, no glue, so that should something go wrong inside, or maybe I want to enhance it one day, I can do so easily by taking this front panel off. I've put a pair of handles on. You can see one there, there's one on my side as well. They're just ordinary handles. They're sufficiently strong to be able to lift it. So if one had to move it from one place to another in the workshop, that's how one would do it. And once I've put this in, it's finished. I'll just give it a very light sand all round, and then it will be done. Well, that's it finished. Now to put some bits of metal in there. Long ones, shorter still, very short, and a place to put little odds and ends if one feels inclined. That's it. It's got handles, the front's removable, and that's it. I'm very pleased with that. And it took about 4 hours to make that, and I rather enjoyed having a little play with the old CNC again. Excellent job.